Balancing tasks and day-to-day routines can be difficult, but even more so for someone with ADHD. According to the DSM-5, anxiety is a persistent pattern of inattention and/or hyperactivity-impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development. This interference of functioning can influence academic, occupational, and social interactions and can be annoying or inconvenient for multiple parties involved. However, in my experience, the most notable effects of ADHD can arguably be those that affect one's home life. Because of the nature of this disorder, we often lack the executive functioning to be able to prioritize tasks, organize our schedules, and manage our time in an efficient way. A common thought about people with ADHD is that we struggle with school or work because of our lack of certain skills. And this can be sometimes true, but I found that the hardest and most annoying effects of ADHD can just be keeping up with a household. I only have myself and a roommate to keep up with, but people in charge of families can find this even more difficult. As illustrated in this next clip, the main problem with living with ADHD can be a lack of motivation for certain dull but necessary tasks.
Hello, brains and hearts. Remember that thing I promised you I'd do? Yeah, about that. We don't always do what we intend to do. Why? Because between intending to do it and actually doing it, there's a big chasm. With most tasks, for most people, that chasm is bridged by motivation. We'll call this motivation bridge. And it's built using motivational planks like, this will be good for my career. It'll make my family proud. I told a bunch of people I would. Motivation bridge isn't always perfect, but little gaps in motivation can be overcome with willpower. Self-discipline. I don't want to do the thing, but if it's important to me, I will. I might not have all the motivation, but I have enough that I can get there. Unfortunately, ADHD is what Dr. Russell Barkley often refers to as a motivation deficit disorder. Something might be just as important to us as it is to somebody without ADHD, but that importance doesn't give us as many motivational planks. We don't have little gaps in motivation. Half the bridge is missing, which means we might want to cross that chasm and do the thing. We might put a ton of effort into trying to. We just can't. This can be really confusing and frustrating for people who can't see all the missing planks and don't understand why we don't just cross the bridge and do the thing. They can get over their gaps. Why can't we get over ours? We must not care. We must be lazy. It's also confusing and frustrating for us when it's a bridge we've crossed before, a thing we've been able to do before. This is why many ADHDers feel like maybe we are just lazy or don't care. We know we can do it, other people are doing it, so why aren't we? Because it's not about that. The times that we or other people can do the thing, it's because there are more planks. So if we want to get something done and we're having trouble doing it, or if we want to support an ADHD brain we love, what do? How do we fix motivation bridge? First, it helps to understand what ADHD brains find motivating and what they don't, because this also differs a bit from neurotypical brains. According to research, ADHD brains tend to have trouble with tasks that are lengthy, repetitive, or boring. On the flip side, there are a few things that give ADHD brains a bunch of motivational planks. Things that are urgent, things that are new or novel, and things that are of personal interest. In other words, things that are stimulating or engaging to our brains, which is also why stimulant, medication, and exercise can be helpful. This need for stimulation isn't a choice. It's how our brains work. Some tasks naturally include these motivational planks. Video games, anyone? Which is why they hold our focus so well. But for those that don't, we can add them. We can fill in the planks. How? 1. Make it urgent. One way we do this kind of unintentionally is by procrastinating. We might struggle for weeks to get started on a paper, but then the night before it's due, a sense of urgency kicks in, and suddenly we have the planks to get over that bridge. Sound familiar? That might not be the healthiest thing in the world, but there are other ways to create a sense of urgency. Creating artificial deadlines is kind of hit and miss for ADHD brains, since we know on some level the deadline isn't real, but accountability can help make it real. Maybe instead of having one final deadline for a paper, ask your teacher if you can have a deadline for each draft. If you've got a big project at work, meet with a coworker regularly to check in on each other's progress. Want to get your house clean? Invite someone over. Knowing someone will see our house, and soon, can give us the motivational planks we need to clean it up. And sometimes, we don't even need to make the task urgent, we just need to see the ways in which it already is. I might not feel like I need to do something today, but if I don't, it's going to put me behind on the rest of my week. Realizing that helps. Timers are also useful. Setting a timer and seeing how much you can get done before it goes off. What doesn't help? Seeing that someone with ADHD is struggling with something and being like, it's okay, get it to me whenever. Although it's wonderfully understanding, it actually takes away planks and makes it less likely that we'll be able to get it done. Instead, check in, ask for updates. Shame-free accountability is really helpful. 2. Make it new or novel. We can't always do new things, but we can do them in new environments or in new ways. Do your homework in a hammock. Learn new ways to fold laundry. I was kind of meh about folding laundry until I learned Marie Kondo's method, and now it's kind of fun. If you're having trouble getting yourself to floss, try getting a variety of floss flavors to choose from. I tend to get bored of my hobbies really quickly, but I've learned to accept that once they get old, I will put them down for a while, and I'll cycle back to them when they feel new again. For tasks you have to do a lot, you can iterate on them. Challenge yourself to find easier, better, or faster ways to do them. Or weirder ways. Studying might be boring, but what if I had to do it upside down? Gamification can make repetitive tasks novel. There are a lot of ways to mix it up. Finally, 3, make it personally interesting. ADHDers are interest-based learners. It's a lot easier for me to read a book in a series that I'm excited about than one my teacher assigned me for homework. That's true for anyone, but for those with ADHD, it can be the difference between being able to get it done and not. Anyone who's ever lived with an ADHD brain knows that whether or not we're interested in a task can be the difference between it taking 5 minutes and 5 years. So at this point, before I even start a task, I try to get my brain interested in it. One way I do this, the episodes I make for this channel are usually about something that I'm struggling with at the time, so I'm personally invested in finding a solution. Sometimes we don't get to choose the tasks we have to do, but we can do them in a way we find interesting. Even for things we have to do in a certain way, it's usually possible to find something about it that's of personal interest. Whatever you do, try not to make a task you need to get done compete with one that's more interesting. Even if we can't find anything else interesting about a task, we can add rewards that are interesting. Rewards can be especially motivating for ADHD brains, but keep in mind, we experience time differently. Long-term rewards are often too far away to be effective. This is why the immediate feedback of sticker charts, raffle tickets, or even a quick verbal acknowledgement is great. It shortens the distance between the behavior and the reward, which makes it more motivating and gives us more motivational planks. All these things, making it urgent, making it new or novel, and making it personally interesting, can give us more planks to help us get over a motivation bridge. Do we need to have all the planks in place before we start? No, of course not. And jumping over the little gaps can make us stronger. But if your bridge looks like this, don't waste energy trying to jump that gap, or telling yourself or someone you love how important it is that they get it done. They know. Instead, get curious about what's missing, and then fill in the planks.
ADHD can make normal, everyday tasks such as laundry, cleaning the kitchen, or even feeding yourself or your family seem impossible if you're not given the right tools to help you make sense of your world. This is where I believe gamification can help. Gamification is the use of gameplay elements in a situation to encourage engagement and increase motivation. A common example would be how Kahoot is used in classrooms to make quizzes more fun and competitive. The gamification of life includes assigning rewards to tasks and making the boring become the exciting by providing extrinsic motivation where intrinsic motivation may be lacking. One could even include role play and fantasy elements to create an immersive experience, such as assigning a side quest in which you do the laundry for your party so you all can have fresh clothes for the next adventure. There are several apps that can do this kind of thing for you, and I'll discuss those more later. In recent years, the use of games in medical fields has been increasing. Specifically, since most ADHD diagnoses are made during childhood, games have become useful tools for creating environments and experiences that make those diagnoses easier and more confident. A review by Peñuelas Calvo et al. Reported 22 articles that examined the effectiveness of video games for detection and treatment of ADHD in children. The majority declared that games were effective in distinguishing between ADHD and the controls, and between the different ADHD subtypes. The game-based treatments also showed to be effective in reducing ADHD symptoms. Lumsden et al. Also reported that gamified testing and training were successful and provided a boost in motivation. Game-based treatment is great in a clinical setting, but what if someone can't afford treatment or doesn't even know if they have ADHD or not? They just want to straighten up some things in their life or solve some specific problems. That's where these apps come in. There are tons of great productivity apps out there, and even a fair few with game elements to make them a bit more fun. Here are a few of my favorites. Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was a big hit when it came out in 2016 because of its fun, new VR technology and the immersion that it brought. This game allowed people to pull the realm of Pokemon into our boring old world and make it cool. Without even realizing it, millions of people were out walking and getting more exercise than they usually would, simply because they had to catch them all. I found myself enjoying walks with my friends, which I would normally find boring because suddenly there were tangible goals and rewards and fulfillment that I could work towards. The more Pokemon you catch, the more you can potentially level up and the more gym fights you can win. This game worked because it played off of the nostalgia of multiple generations of Pokemon fans and gave us a chance to live in that world. Forest. Forest is a lovely little app that helps to keep you on task and off your phone. It allows you to set a timer, and for the duration of that timer, you begin to grow a tree. If for whatever reason you navigate away from the app before this time is up, your tree will die. This is an excellent display of the endowment effect and subsequent loss aversion, because the game gives you a responsibility to care for and grow trees, and you want to do everything in your power to keep them alive. Therefore, it is very effective in keeping you off of your phone while you are trying to be productive. It even has a social and competitive element in that you can interact with friends and see who has the biggest forest. This app was featured in a study that evaluated the usefulness of Forest and other apps like it for the treatment of ADHD symptoms in Brazil. They concluded that this was indeed a valid method for improving focus and cognitive performance. Habitica. Habitica is an app that can help increase productivity by incorporating role-play game elements into everyday life, turning those chores into side quests, and giving you rewards and level ups for completing them. It's essentially a to-do list, but done in such a way that makes it actually fun to check things off of that list. You get rewards for completing tasks, which levels up your character, which allows you to fight monsters, which gives you gold to buy real-life rewards like watching your favorite show or allowing yourself some scroll time. This app incorporates all our favorite parts of RPGs and makes it real life. It's a great way to boost your motivation and hack your brain, whether you have ADHD or not.
In a world of chaos, one hero must emerge who can vanquish any task. On the journey of a lifetime, filled with perils, overspilling inboxes, unmopped floors, forgotten milk. But on this journey comes a new form of motivational power to obliterate the washing up and to take home the milk. Remember and achieve your real-world goals with Epic Win, the streamlined to-do list with an RPG setting. And reward yourself for completing all the tasks you've been putting off. Beat them up and gain experience points and loot. You'll level up your life and your character as you progress. And really get things done. Epic Win! Out now on the App Store.
Epic Win. Epic Win is another RPG-based app similar to Habitica in that it helps you get stuff done in a fun and engaging way. The immersive nature of this one, the graphics, and the dramatic voice of the announcer make this app my favorite, because the feel is that of a fantasy RPG where the tasks are super important and the rewards are even more compelling. Gamification works, and it's not hard to see why. The dopamine hits from rewards are a huge part of why we love games, and applying this to everyday life can make boring or difficult to start tasks actually fun. With ADHD, a lot of the struggle lies in getting started, and gamifying your life can help with that. Instead of letting the world beat us down and make us feel lazy, we can hack our brains into working for us, not against us, and games can help us do that.